Welcome to the Jesse Freeze Show on WMTR 1250 AM, a Beasley Media Group station. Brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey. Streaming live on WMTRAM.com and TalkStreamLive.com.
Welcome, I'm Jesse Freeze. Parents are starting to hold schools accountable for their children's suicides due to torturous bullying. The United States suicide rate among children and young adults is escalating at an alarming rate. New Jersey hospitals report their emergency rooms were flooded this year with anxious, depressed, and suicidal kids. The account I'm about to relate from the Washington Post is about 8-year-old Gabriel Ty. Small in stature, he wore button-down shirts and neckties to school, which made him a target in his elementary school. He loved learning and made the honor roll, but the other students bullied him, punching, shoving, and kicking him in incidents that dated back to the first grade, and third grade was the worst. One afternoon, a student knocked Gabriel to the floor in a school restroom, where he lay unconscious for 7 minutes. Students stepped over his body, kicking him as they passed. His mother kept him home for a few days after the incident. When he returned to school, a classmate tried to flush Gabriel's cherished Batman water bottle down the toilet. Hours later, the child took his life. Just one of 1,000 stories. Joining me this morning, Max Pizzaro, chief editor and co-founder of Insider NJ, who wrote a gripping series of articles on bullying and suicides a while back. Great to have you back with us, Max Pizzaro.
Thank you, Jesse. Great to be here.
Also joining us, Diane Sammons, attorney with law firm Nagel Rice on Eisenhower Parkway in Roseland. Sammons' law firm reached the highest settlement for a child's death due to bullying in the state of New Jersey. The settlement was $9.1 million, a wake-up call to schools everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Diane Sammons.
Thank you so much for having us.
We'll start with you, Max. Every generation has dealt with bullying, but today's bullying seems to be getting worse. What is your take after your series of gripping articles on bullying?
I don't think we're prioritizing our kids, Jesse. I just don't think that they're our chief concern. I think making money off of politics, making money off of the system, development that overcrowds towns and makes our schools too big, where people who are in charge of these schools can't actually carry out or aren't even aware of the state and federal laws governing anti-bullying. So I just think that corruption has put us on a pathway to forget about our children, candidly. And tragically.
And as an attorney, your law firm, Diane, have handled some very high-profile cases, which we'll get to shortly. But how can we stop the increasingly common practice of adolescents assaulting other adolescents in school hallways while recording their heinous crimes to shame their victims? This is really spreading all over. Go ahead.
It is terrible, and it is an epidemic, and our children are dying. And I agree with Max that very little is being done to stem the problem. I think one of the most important things is there has to be a zero tolerance for bullying in the schools. Children and adults and others need to suffer consequences as a result of bullying. And I haven't seen that. I've seen cultures in these schools where it's just outrageous. The teachers are not stopping the children who are acting out in incredible ways. Crude references to other children, talk about suicide over and over again. That's created this culture of kids feeling free to use suicide talk in school. Things like, go kill yourself. Or right. In my most recent case, there was the child that I'm representing was told to go unalive herself multiple times by multiple students. Go unalive yourself. So it's the children's way of getting around potentially getting in trouble for saying go kill yourself. So they've come up with a new phrase, go unalive yourself. And this happens frequently, and unfortunately, the teachers in the school systems are not doing anything to correct that kind of culture.
I know. And why is this? Why are we allowing this? This just has to stop. Everyone is trying to do something. It seems like nothing is getting solved, Max.
Well, I must say that my colleague here on this call who just spoke really puts together a battle plan for holding to account school systems that are not, in fact, protecting the children and are not following the law. And so that settlement of $9.1 million is quite a statement. And the fact that now there is pending a second lawsuit in the Mount Holly case, to me, these are signs of hope, because these are very significant actions. And we need action. We need visible, visceral, immediate, and urgent action on behalf of kids. And I think these lawsuits are that.
Let me add to that, Max. I agree with you that these lawsuits are designed to send a message, and we have been rigorous in our pursuit of law that hopefully will move it in the right direction. And that's part of the solution. However, remember, in my cases, for me to be able to bring a case, I need a child basically dying before I can bring a case. So cases where children are abused and, it gets to the point where they can no longer go to school and they don't feel safe in school, but they don't take that final step. Those are the children that now potentially have no hope and no available resources, because unfortunately, there's most law firms can't afford to bring a case like that because the damages are not sufficient enough to justify an award or to justify us bringing the case, because our expenses and our fees are going to be higher than what ultimately is going to be the recovery. So there has to be another solution, and it can be a legal solution. It can be a legislative solution. For instance, like providing attorney's fees for parents that bring these lawsuits and are successful in bringing the lawsuit, even if it doesn't result in a child's death.
Well, that's a good start.
So I do think we need to look at legislation and improve our legislation to really address the issue.
Yeah, and Max, we do have many of our leaders trying to get those rules passed, but it seems like there's always a blockage that nothing ever really materializes.
I appreciate Diana's context and the specificity of her argument here. I think it's important. And I do think, Jesse, that we have lawmakers, and we've spoken to several of them, including veteran Senator Shirley Turner, who want to make our anti-bullying laws even stronger by going beyond language that identifies certain communities of interest to make it a blanket anti-bullying law in New Jersey. And Senator Turner is right now on that line of trying to broaden the language so that it's not just specific communities of interest, and God knows those communities need those protections, but so do all of our children.
They certainly do. I only have 1 minute to break, but sadly, some children do not report the bullying they experience. They suffer alone, and the consequences can be deadly. Cyberbullying, harmful posts and videos on social media, and texts on cell phones is a growing major source of mental health issues for adolescents. You want to comment on that, Diane?
Yeah, very much so. So one of the things I learned about in my previous case, and that was the Grossman case, was that there is software that's available that schools can access, and it's relatively inexpensive. And what that does is it allows children to report anonymously bullying. And there is a significant underreporting of bullying. So this is software that would allow a child or a parent or anyone to report an incident of bullying without necessarily having to be concerned about being identified as the person that's reporting it. So there's less of a chance of retaliation. I think that's a great possibility that schools should add to what they're doing.
Well, we certainly agree with you. We've got to go on a quick break. Joining me this morning, Max Vizero, Chief Editor and Co-founder of Insider NJ, and Diane Sammons, attorney with Nagel Rice Law Firm, on how parents are starting to hold schools accountable for their children's suicide due to torturous bullying. I'm Jessie Fries. We'll be right back.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jesse Freeze Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
Welcome back. Joining me this morning, Max Pizzero of Insider NJ and Diane Sammons, attorney with Nagel Rice Law Firm, on how parents are starting to hold schools accountable for their children's suicides. As we said earlier, more parents are suing schools over student deaths. Families argue that schools have a legal obligation to keep children safe. Diane Sammons and Max Pizzero, you are both very familiar with the Mallory Grossman tragedy. And Diane, your law firm, Nagel Rice, handled the tragic Mallory Grossman case. Her life as a sixth grader at Copeland Middle School in Rockaway Township became unbearable. Will you share her story with us?
Yeah, so Mallory was a beautiful 12-year-old who was bright, ambitious, pretty. She was a superior athlete. She was a gymnast, a cheerleader. She was well-liked. She was a kind child. She spent her time raising money for various social causes. And for a year, it actually started in her fifth grade year, but continued through most of sixth grade, she encountered persistent bullying. There was name calling that was gender specific. She was excluded from the lunch table by the same group of girls. She was called names like fat and jiggly. She was cyberbullied. She received a message indicating you have no friends from one of the bullies. And I think the most unsettling part is the use of suicide language, where she was told multiple times to go kill yourself. And it appeared that within that school structure, there was a culture of students speaking that way. So one of the other students one of the students who was deposed in the case indicated that she heard suicide language as many times as 5 times a week. In the documents that we exchanged, there was a text message by one of the alleged bullying students who allegedly bullied Mallory, and there was the use of this phrase, KYS, meaning kill yourself. Kill yourself. And it was texted between this student bully and her friends 69 times, where essentially what the kids do is they hold down the send button on their cell phone, and it repeats itself over and over and over again. So it's that kind of persistence and consistency where these children, and remember, we're talking about 12-year-olds here, right? Over and over and over again abused her. And then to make matters worse, the school the school administrators who weren't really up to date on what they should be doing, made it worse by bringing her into a room with the bullies and suggesting they all hug it out. And my expert said that's the worst thing that you could do under those circumstances, because usually the bullies are in a a superior power structure than the child. And it's just the worst thing to do. And she was retaliated after that. And then the parents got so frustrated, towards the end of the school year, they actually set up a meeting with the principal when she received a cyberbullying text. And they went in and met with the principal, and they brought their child. And towards the end of the meeting, the principal decided, okay, we're going to help you. Here's what we're going to do. Handed her a poker chip, made her sign the poker chip, and told her, we're all in, meaning the school was responsible, she was responsible. And to further exacerbate things, he decided that told her that he was going to put the poker chip on her locker so everybody could see it, and she would be the first person to have this poker chip on her locker.
Oh, now, how obnoxious.
I can't imagine a worse way to deal with a 6-year-old girl who is being bullied by, having her stand out even more. And then he said, I want you to come to school tomorrow and meet with me in front of the school, you and me, and we will correct the parents who park in the wrong parking spaces when they come into school.
Oh, I can't believe this. This is unbelievable.
It was later that day that her father came home from work and found her hanging in her closet.
Oh, that's
it's
tragic.
Just painful to even repeat that story.
It still is, but there's something wrong over and above this, though, with all the school children. What is causing the cruelty today? Why is this happening? This is unconscionable.
I mean, I think our children
cruelty. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our kids are under a lot of stress right now. I do. I think COVID has enhanced that. They're not, being socialized the same way they were before. The political environment they're living in is an example of that.
Yes.
And so I think all those things contribute. But the most important piece of this to me is while children are at school, the school is responsible for keeping those kids safe. Our law says that. And why? Because the school is there's a Latin word called parenti loci, which means they're the parents that should be assuming responsibility for the children while they're at school. And the case law supports this theory in New Jersey that schools' primary responsibility is to keep kids safe and to teach them while they're at school. So when this happens at school, it's the school's responsibility to ensure that it doesn't happen. It's the school's responsibility to follow the policies that are in place that the New Jersey legislature built in, that is anti-bullying statute, and it's one of the most aggressive anti-bullying statutes in the country, and to ensure that those policies get followed. And that's, I think, the biggest piece from a legal standpoint that I want to get across. It's like
you're certainly doing
responsible.
That. You are getting it across, and people have to be listening to you. And Diane Grossman, Mallory's mother, she could not put into words the experience of seeing her only child in a casket. This was so frightening. Tell us about what the parents went through and how the lawsuit came about.
The parents contacted us pretty quickly after the incident. Obviously, they have suffered tremendously over the last 5 years. And, they call attorneys counselors for a reason. And Diane's perspective on it was she wanted to do as much as she could, as quickly as she could, to stop it from happening to other children. And she became an advocate on behalf of anti-bullying. And she's done quite a phenomenal job of that. She has a foundation. She was successful in strengthening the anti-bullying law in the state. She and her husband produced a movie that is an anti-bullying movie, and it's about Mallory's life, and that's been watched by tens of thousands of people and used to educate people. She has become a spokesperson where she speaks at schools, and she has really, really gone out and done the best that she can to try to stem the problem. But she has suffered. She has suffered dramatically. Her family has suffered dramatically. Mallory's sister obviously has had an impact from it. It has impacted so much of their life.
And 6 years after she first began the lawsuit, their attorney, Bruce Nagel, settled the case for $9.1 million, one of the nation's largest of its kind, but no amount of money could ever bring her precious child back.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I see it, I hear it in their voice every time I speak to them. They are suffering, and they will continue to suffer, and that will never go away.
All right, you are. Well, we've got to go on another break. And joining me this morning, Max Pizzaro, chief editor, co-founder of Insider NJ, and Diane Sammons, attorney with Nagel Rice Law Firm on children's suicide due to torturous bullying. And you're just great guests. I'm Jessie Fries. We'll be right back.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jesse Freeze Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
Welcome back. Diane Sammons, your law firm handled the wrongful death suit of Felicia Low Elbow Mendez, who endured taunting slurs and social exclusion from fellow students while in the 5th and 6th grade of school in Mount Holly. Tell us about this and her case, will you please?
Yes. So in terms of her case, just so you know, that is just starting out. Even though, her death occurred in February of this past year, the lawsuit was just filed recently. So we're really at the very, very beginning phases of that. But Felicia was like an 11-year-old. She was in 6th grade. She skipped a grade. She's a smart child. She was active in drama, the band, chorus. She was in a club called RAC, Random Acts of Kindness. I'm sorry,
Random
that's what
Acts.
it is.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And that's an organization that's really designed to encourage anti-bullying behavior, right? And to encourage kids to be kind to each other. And she encountered similarly a year of the pattern of bullying, and you described some of it. There was verbal abuse where there were crude words that were directed at her based upon her gender, her ethnicity, her size, and her perceived sexual orientation. So she was called words like gay and furry, and there was a gender slur that I didn't even know what it meant when I was 11, and it's too crude to repeat. And again, multiple people told her to go unalive yourself. Multiple people on multiple times, students, told her to go unalive yourself. She had gum thrown in her hair, and somebody else cut her hair to cut the gum out. A child in one of her classes she went up to use the blackboard, and some child poured water on her seat, and then when she went to sit back down in it, one child said, "Oh, you urinated on yourself." And the teacher did nothing. It got so bad there was a report that she was pushed downstairs. A student reported that, and based upon that, there was an expression that got passed around the school that was, "you were being Felicia'd," meaning they coined a term to express what had happened to her. Now, that's not normal. That's a culture of dysfunction. It's a culture of hate. It was allowed to fester, and the school did nothing to cease the behavior and to, stop the behavior that she was experiencing.
They said that when she was taken to the hospital, Felicia's mother was at her side in the hospital room and cradled her daughter when she was taken off life support and remained with her until her final breath. This is absolutely beyond belief that something like this could happen today. It's so unnecessary. And then she sued Mount Holly school board educators over the death of her young daughter. How did that lawsuit go?
Well, that is the lawsuit that I'm telling you we're just in the very beginning phases of. So we haven't done discovery. The complaint was filed. The school board and some of the individual administrators still have to answer, but it will follow a similar course as the Grossman case, and is similar in some ways to the Grossman case as well.
And, there's so many stories like Felicia's. What about Adriana Kutch? I think, Max, you were in on that story. She took her life at 14.
I was, Jesse. It was just another horrific death by suicide. Adriana was walking in a hallway at school, in her high school in Ocean County. Some girls jumped her, and they filmed the beating as these girls beat her, a group of them, ambushing her by surprise, beating her down to the floor, hitting her with a water bottle, disfiguring her face from the beating as they laughed at her and filmed her. Right after this occurred, she was so humiliated that she killed herself.
And
So, yeah.
I don't understand though why teachers, there must have been someone seeing that and witnessing that, and they still remain quiet and not tell about it or take
Jesse, as
for the
Diane
children.
just described with the Felicia Loalbo Melendez case, Felicia reached out in numerous emails, sending out distress calls, begging for help, talking about a trauma club, not a drama club, but a trauma club. Also, Adriana Cush repeatedly called out to the administration for help, called out to the school for help, and her cries went completely ignored.
And in the Grossman case, to add to that, there were 6 separate incidents that Mrs. Grossman specifically sent emails to the school on. That described bullying under their own bullying policy. And they did not even initiate the complaint and the investigation they're supposed to under the anti-bullying statute.
And in Felicia's case, though, didn't her father die just days before she committed suicide? How tragic for that mother. How tragic.
Yes.
Oh, this
horrible.
You know,
he was a detective with one of the police forces. I believe it was Newark, but I'm not 100% sure.
Really?
And he had cancer.
New Jersey Transit.
Oh, thank you.
Right, Diane?
Yeah. Yes. And he died in a very quick manner. From the time he developed it till the time he died was very, very quick. So it was shocking.
Just shocking. We certainly need more mental health facilities. People need help, but they're hard to find today. And when you do find them, there's a long waiting list or they're too expensive. Unfortunately, I have just about a minute and a half left, but if you or anyone you know is thinking of suicide, help is available 24/7. The suicide hotline crisis I have is 988 and offers help in more than 150 languages. I really can't thank both of you enough for this very, very tragic story, but you've shown the light on it, Diane and Max, and I'm sure that there'll be people stepping forward to help, and we'll keep on with this series because we have to enforce it. And I thank you very much, Diane Sammons, for appearing on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this program. It's important.
Well, you were just excellent. And Max Pizzaro, Editor-in-Chief, co-founder, Insider NJ, thank you for your contribution.
Jesse, thank you so much for continuing to make this a priority. And I want to thank Diane for her excellent legal work. And I'm just privileged to be here today. It's a very, very important issue. It's our kids. What could be more important than that?
Right. Well said. Well, thank you again, both of you. I'm Jessie Freeze. Stay tuned for Julie Briggs and a riveting political roundtable coming up next. Good day.